welcome to highlights of the Formula SimRacing World Championship supported by SimLab and 3D Wrap. Round 3 took place at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the first time we have been here since 2014. However, this time we're on the new shorter layout with lap times in qualifying going under 1 minute. It will be a relentless race with 78 laps around here, but let's see how the drivers did in qualifying. Peter took pole position for Edge Esports, closely followed by Jeroen Kwiku, who's been very impressive since returning to FSR this season. Sander Kallis and Janos Brakshock take out the second row with 2 performances from drivers who have struggled a little bit in the opening races of the season. Some bigger news is that Jene Simicic was down in 7th position and Michi Hoyer was down in 12th, so they have to do quite a bit of work to get up the grid during the race. Additionally, Eros Mashuli returns, this time joining HM Engineering, as well as in their sister team Kirill Birakov returns and does a good performance in 5th place. And for the first time in 6 years, the lights come on here in Indianapolis. And it's a pretty close start as they all get away coming down into turn 1, which is a very, very tight right-handed corner going into a chicane, and Sander Kallis is getting right on the back of Peter Belloc, but then he backs off a little bit and then he actually goes in too deep and pushes off Janos Brakshock, who has to filter in the background as well. And this holds up a couple of other drivers, which eventually causes Jim Priestis to have a bit of contact with Geordies Wires and Eros Mashuli, which also means Jos Araneda loses his front wing. Just very tight here on the first lap in this first sector, and Jos Araneda had nowhere to go to avoid the HM Engineering car. Jene Simicic had to cut the chicane to complete his overtake past Sander Kallis, who is now under attack from Janos Brakshock, who he pushed off earlier. And as we finish lap 1, Peter Belloc leads fairly comfortably, and the news being Jene Simicic has already made his way up into 3rd position. Going on to lap 4, Dennis Jordan gets a good run on Michi Hoyer, who had made his way into the top 10, but he was being quite slow on those hard compound tyres, and Dennis Jordan manages to make his way up into 9th position. And it doesn't stop there, as Janos Brakshock comes past Michi Hoyer as well, who is starting to really slow down on these hard compound tyres. Marek Godek, replacing Luca Di Mello, now tries to go round the outside but couldn't quite make it work into turn 1. Later on he goes off in the final sector, and this gives an opportunity for Mocek to come past, as well as Danny van der Neet. And also Jim Priestis is getting involved here, started a bit lower down and is doing once again an alternate strategy. And he's trying to make a double overtake here, going down the inside of both the Netrex and the Go Speed Singularity car coming into turn number 1, but couldn't quite make it work on both of them. But he does get that position on Godek, who lost 3 positions on this lap. Tom sadly unfortunately suffered from some issues and had to DNF from the race. Sander Kallis also goes wide in this 3rd sector, proving pretty difficult for a few drivers. And this lets Alex Siebel get past him down into turn 1. Sander Kallis then enters the pits, but he makes a little bit of a mistake hitting the wall, and that's going to cost him some time, as he'll have to pit for some damage repairs. Danny van der Neet unfortunately had to DNF as well, so there's 2 drivers out of this race already. We now have the pit stops come around, and Jene Simicic pits early, which is a bit unusual for him, and he will take the hard compound tyres. And this causes him to do an undercut on Jeroen Kwiku when he comes out of the pit lane, also on the hard compound tyres. Janos Brakshock made some moves in the pit stops as he managed to undercut Siebel, Birakov and Dennis Jordan. Coming towards the end of Sector 2, Robin Panzer goes for a spin, and this will eventually lead to his retirement. David Mocek is now in the lead ahead of Hoyer and Priestis. All of these drivers are on an alternate strategy. However, Mocek makes a mistake and Hoyer takes the lead. Hoyer then makes a mistake coming in Sector 2 and has to go all over the chicane, and this gives basically a free position to Jim Priestis, but Peter Belloc is having to make the overtake work. That's not being easy, as he is now getting held up having made his pit stop. Belloc makes a mistake into turn 1, and this is giving Simicic a really good chance to fight for the lead. Belloc has to then defend as they come into turn 1, and these drivers are now starting to get held up by these alternate strategy runners. Priestess pits, but this leaves Hoyer pretty vulnerable to Petter Burlak to finally make an overtake down this really long front straight. Hoyer is obviously not in the best position in this race, already being a pit stop behind, so he is struggling a little bit here today compared to the first 2 races. However, Burlak manages to make the move stick. Now Jeroen Kweekel trying to get involved as Simičić gets past Hoyer, and he dives it down the inside as Hoyer once again goes off into the triple chicane. Sander Kallas comes past Jordi's wires here, but couldn't actually make it stick on the brake. Jordi being very good on the brakes there and managing to hold on to 9th place. Kallas there with a really big slide coming out of turn 6 as he puts everything to try and get past Jordi here down into turn number 7 and finally manages to make it stick. Kirill Birkov is doing a really good race, just sitting behind the leaders, and comes past Siebel here for 5th position, and he's on a pretty good tyre strategy as well. And he's now caught up to the back of Janos Brakshock. Brakshock takes to the pit lane. Birkov then pits 1 lap later, but actually takes the mediums where most people are taking the hards. This is going to give him some good speed towards the end of the race, but he does have a fairly long way to go on those. Petter Burlak then pits for the hard compound tyres as well, so a simple soft hard strategy here today. Kweekel then stays out extra long as Simičić pits to try and make something work as we head to the final stint of the race. And he actually takes a medium as well, just like Birkov. So Birkov and Kweekel will be catching the leaders as we get towards the end of the race. But as Kweekel stayed out a little bit longer, he has lost some time. Simičić is now catching up to the back of Priestess and Burlak as they are trying to do a little bit of team play to get Burlak ahead. And Simičić is getting held up here by Priestess, so he's going to have to send it down the inside into turn 4, but he couldn't quite make it work as Priestess defended really well. Jeroen Kweekel is now caught up to the back of Jeroen Simičić, and he's going to really try and make an overtake stick, so he sends it down the inside with only a few laps left to go of this race. The two are still going side by side. There's a bit of contact and Jeroen goes round in turn number 2. Some controversial stuff happening here as we head into sector 1 on lap 71. Jeroen sends it really harshly down the inside of turn 1, and then there's just a bit of contact. And Simičić manages to save himself, but Kweekel goes around. And Siebel gets a massive slipstream here to go past Janos Brakshock. Had to lift off a little bit as he was squeezed against the wall, but he makes it work. So this is a good position for the Evolution driver, who has not had the best start to the season, but is now into 5th place. Now Dennis Jordan is coming on the back of Brakshock as well, and David Mocek is trying to get involved, so Brakshock is struggling here a little bit in the closing stages of the race, and Brakshock actually makes it work coming through turn 1, so 2 places lost there for Janos Brakshock. Now Jeroen Kweekel, after his spin, is caught up to the back of Kirill Birkov, who unfortunately drops off the podium at this moment in time on his first race back this season. Now Michi Hoyer is trying to battle with Jim Priestess, and a bit of contact is made, and Hoyer goes for a little half spin, so it's not been the best race for him today. But Petter Burlak has done an absolutely flawless job. Only one tiny mistake into turn 1 we saw in the whole 78 laps, and he takes his first win of the season, meaning 3 different races and 3 different drivers for the opening of the 2020 Formula Sim Racing season, brought to you by SimLab and 3D Wrap. And it should be mentioned that after the race, Jeroen Simičić got a 5-second time penalty for that overtake on Sander Kallas on lap 1, which means he actually drops off the podium, giving Kweekel 2nd and Birkov 3rd. Evolution get a really good result with 5th and 6th, so they'll be happy with that. And Kallas's penalty also promotes Michi Hoyer, as Kallas got a penalty for him pushing Janos Brakshock off in turn 1. 16 cars saw the checkered flag as well, which is always good to see. And Jeroen Simičić will remain leading the championship, but closing behind is Petter Burlak. So these two are going to be battling each other all throughout the season, however Kweekel and Hoyer are not too far behind either. In the Constructors, it's still the 2 burst teams leading the way from Edge, but HM Engineering Red are sitting pretty just behind them as well, and Evolution not too far behind, so it looks like those top 5 teams are going to be having A close battle as we head towards the next race, which is the Portugal GP, the first ever time we have been to this race, happening on the 26th of April. And this has been the highlights of round 3 of the Formula SimRacing World Championship, brought to you by 3D Wrap and SimLab. And until Portugal, we'll see you soon.